All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Land to Mentorship. Did you know we have over 1,300 videos on this channel, and 800 of them are at least 800 of them are about debt payoff simulations. And if you go to playlists and velocity method debt payoff, we have over 800 videos on this playlist, right? And you might be wondering, how do I make so many videos? Maybe I'm just addicted to paying off debt on spreadsheets. I don't know. Or maybe I heard a long time ago in order to be a master at anything, just put in your 10,000 hours, right? I think that was Malcolm Gladwell. And that's what we're going to do today. I don't know how many hours collectively I've put into paying off debt. Hopefully it's somewhere near 10,000. In fact, let me just do a quick calculation right now. Okay. So let's say we have 20 minutes on average per video. Okay. 20 minutes. And then that's 800 videos. So that's 16,000 minutes. Right? And then I got to divide by 60, and they'll tell me if I have met my 10,000. What? I'm not anywhere near 10. Oh man, what a bummer. Only 266? Man, no wonder I'm not the Bruce Lee level yet. All right, well, whatever. Let's go ahead and get started so I can become the ultimate master. And I might be doing this because I'm addicted to doing these spreadsheets and paying off debt. And hopefully you're addicted too. So let's go ahead and get started paying off debt using what we now call the velocity method. It had a cooler name before, but it's okay. Some people have been emailing me saying, I love the velocity method, which means you're new and you didn't know the old name. Okay. Anyways, what's the first step to paying off debt? It is creating a budget, because your budget is your debt attack plan. Your income, expenses, leftover checking and savings. Okay. And then in your expense breakdown, you list down every single debt that you have and its associated payment. And then after that, you list the expenses, your personal expenses that are not tied to debt: food, gas, insurance, and all that other good stuff that you would still have to pay for even if you were debt free, right? So the whole point of this is to make sure all of these line items in black, which are your debts, go to zero, and we maximize your cash flow, but we still have to pay for these. Okay, so this is why we're not too attached to um, being very, very granular about, our general expenses. We're just going to give a round figure just to make the debt payoff scenario situation easy. And what we're also going to do is we're going to have this column here called velocity method. And the whole premise of this is that, hey, with the same income and the same expenses, okay, whoopsie, same income, same expenses, we're going to put this checking and savings to zero. Okay, checking and savings to zero. And then what we're going to do is have this idea that's separate from our checking and savings called cash flow. Now, when it comes to average American banking, checking, savings, and cash flow are the same thing. And if you ever studied real estate investing, they have two formulas that they give you: NOI, net operating income, and cash flow. So what is net operating income? It's income minus expenses, right? It doesn't take into account your debt service. And then cash flow is income minus expenses minus debt service, right? And the whole idea of cash flow in the traditional sense is that whatever is left over will go into your checking and savings, and that's your cash flow. So what we're doing is, instead of leaving our money into a checking and savings, we're going to do the exact opposite of what most people do, which is don't save money, right? Because how do you pay off debt? You just don't save money. And a lot of people have two contradictory ideas in their head, which is, I have to pay off debt, but I also have to save money. And you know what happens with a confused mind? A confused mind essentially does nothing. Okay, that's literally what happens. And so most people just end up not paying off their debt and getting confused. Okay, so what we're going to do is put all of our money into something called a line of credit and increase our cash flow simply by moving some debts into it. Okay, so if you don't know what a line of credit is, basically a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay back, and then use it over and over again. Okay, so this is a $30,000 8% home equity line of credit. Now, if you ever go to a bank and you're in a dire situation and you don't have that much cash flow left over and you have a lot of debt, is the bank going to lend you a home equity line of credit or any sort of line of credit or any sort of loan, right? The answer to that is no. Banks don't lend money to people who need it, because people who need it, according to the bank, are very bad people because they won't pay you back. And you probably know this to be true too in your own life. Whenever someone borrowed money from you and they said the magic words that they needed it, okay? They literally said the words, "I need the money. Can you please help me, lend me a couple of bucks." And then magically they didn't pay you back. It's because they said the magic words, "I need the money." And people who need money, according to the bank, are bad people because they know from all the statistical data that they have that people who need money don't pay their bills. Right? It's a magical thing that the bank has figured out, which is why they're the biggest institution on the planet, right? Banks control the world, supposedly. All right, so now why do we demonstrate with the free and clear line of credit if we can't get it? Well, there's two reasons. One is for academic purposes. It's actually much easier to understand the importance of the line of credit if I just show you a free and clear one, right? And then number two, it's for simplicity, because if you ever see a realistic scenario like this one right here, this is a real life scenario. Someone sent me an email. It's unsolicited, budget 22 debts, $4.10 left over. What happens is most people just have a max out line of credit, and then we have to work with that and demonstrate that, and that takes forever. Okay, you see all these debts. Oh my goodness, I don't even know how I did this. Like, my mind was blown when I did this, and I was just like, how do you even do this? But we did it. 10 years debt free. That was the projection. $300,000 of debt. But anyways, all right. So now so what we're gonna do is we're gonna assume we have a free and clear line of credit. And by the way, if you want to see that scenario, I actually put this behind a paywall, 99 cents per month. And let me tell you something. Someone actually wrote a comment that I should be charging thousands of dollars just to show this, just because how valuable it is. And I'm putting it 99 cents per month cheap. Okay. Just because I want you to succeed, but I want you to put a little bit of effort into your education. That's why I put a paywall. Now I got $5,000 to $10,000 programs that I sell too, but I just want to let you know that. All right. Anyways, so let me go back here. So we're just going to assume we have a free and clear line of credit. And then what we're going to do is use a formula called the cash flow index. If you don't know what the cash flow index is, okay, basically it's the balance divided by the monthly payment, and then you do that for all your debts, right? And so what you do is you sort these based on the cash flow index, smallest to largest, and the lower the number, the more bang you get for your buck for paying off that debt, right? So if you see this number right here, 209, what does 209 mean? Well, with the 30-year mortgage, basically you're paying a lot of money, $265,000, just to get $1,100 back in your cash flow, right? Whereas you pay these 3 credit cards, you'll get pretty much $1,000. So why not pay the credit cards off first, get more cash flow, and then go into sequential order and then pay off the mortgage with all of your cash flow, right? So that's kind of one way. Actually, I start off with the cash flow index, and you know why I started to use it? It's because of scenarios like this. I remember 2 scenarios, this one and another one, where the first one I received was like $900 left over. I was like, dude, that's pretty tough, especially you're making like 6 figures, sir or ma'am, whoever you are. And then and then I was like, man, I hate to be in this position, $900 left over and making 6 figures. And then I saw this one, $4.10 left over, and I was like, this is the PhD of this debt payoff stuff, right? Like I was honored and blessed with this scenario and realized, wow, like, I can help people. I really can. I'll get to my 10,000 hours one day, but right now I'm just feeding a debt payoff addiction and just cranking out these spreadsheets. All right. So, okay. So so my point was this. Once I started seeing people's real life scenarios, that's when I started like really falling in love with the cash flow index method about how to rank and order debts, because it just provides you a simple formula. And when you look on this left side, look how overwhelming it gets. Isn't it overwhelming when you look at the left side? Yet when you look at the right side, the cash flow index, oh, it's just a ranking order, right? Bang for your buck. Now, there are some times that you can't follow cash flow index to the T. And I would say like there's really 2 scenarios where you might think of kind of making some modifications. Number one, if you have no space in your line of credit like this, where you have to do like one debt at a time, and then like the next debt in the cash flow index is too big to fit in the line of credit, yeah, you probably do have to make some adjustments, right? Number two is 0%, loans. So, if you don't want to pay that off first, even though it has a low cash flow index, I totally get that too. But that means the loan's going to go away relatively quickly, anyways, if you have a low cash flow index, if you really know what that means. All right, so now this is what we're gonna do. We have our debt ranking, right? Right. This is the order that we pay off the debts. Now we have a $30,000 limit. So let's just see if we can pay off these credit cards and move it into a line of credit. So that's gonna be 5, 8, 15. And then I'm gonna go ahead and sum it up. And that's 28,000, 28,000 of the line of credit of the credit card debt we move into the line of credit. So what do? We basically did a debt transfer. Okay, debt transfer. And so guess what happens here? Oh my goodness, these payments just went to zero because all we did was transfer the debt into the line of credit. Okay, now take a look at this. All right, let's stare at this. This is the part where you kind of invite your friends for some Tupperware and then show them this at the same time, right? So you just stare at you're looking at this with your friends and say, hey friends, take a look at this. The income is the same, but how did this $600 turn into $1,500 without making more money? You see how the income is the same? And then, this is the part where like human nature really surprises me, because every time I've shown this to people in real life, they never reacted the way I wanted to. Because if it were just me, I'd just be like rational, like, oh my goodness, like I want to learn how to do that. I'll pay you money. And then everyone else, you know what? They just kind of leave. I'm like, how do you do that? Is your life is your life so good that like you don't have to learn this stuff like I do? You know what I mean? It's kind of like if I have like a way to diet naturally without any drugs, and I can lose like 30 pounds without any exercise, all natural, all organic, you wouldn't want to like find out a little bit about it? Like, are you saying you're an Olympic athlete or like a gym rat, or you're a fitness guru, which most of the population is not? And I'm telling you, you don't have to really work that hard. Maybe you need a few adjustments, and you're gonna go off and ignore me? Like what? Oh man. Either I was totally wrong about most of the population not being, maybe they're not obese, or maybe, you know, they're just lazy, right? Because, it's so funny how people don't have time to like study this, but they have time for so much BS in their lives. You ever notice that? Yeah, I know. Anyways, I've gone too long for rambling on and on and on. But I'm just amazed, and I don't know about you, how the $600 turned into 1,500. And I have other videos on this channel about zero going to 5,000 without making more money. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put our paycheck into the line, take our expenses out, and then rinse and repeat over and over again. And then after after every single month, the balance of the line of credit will go down by our cash flow, right? Minus some interest. So to calculate the next month's balance, it's the previous month's balance, previous month's interest minus our cash flow. So 1542.74. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the average daily balance, right? That's how we get the average. Multiply it by the interest rate, and then divide by 12, because the interest rate is always quoted manually, but you're calculating it monthly, which is why you divide it by 12. Okay. Now here's the here's the other thing too. Now think about this. You put your entire paycheck in, $6,000. If the minimum monthly payment's only 181, like it's going to be somewhere near $181, right? It might be a little bit more because they tackle a little bit on the principal. Well, who cares, right? Because the $6,000 is going to meet that minimum payment when you overpay it. You see what I'm saying? And then what you do is you take your expenses out, $4,457.26, and then you use it to pay these other debts and also these expenses. Now, with the personal expenses like food, gas, insurance, I put them on a credit card still, but I would just pay off the balance or the statement balance by the due date. So technically, it's still not a debt, or another way that you think about it is like it's interest free 1 month interest free loan, right? Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just kind of rewind, think about that a little bit. You pay for your food, gas, insurance, swipe it on a card, your statement comes out, you have 1 month to pay it without any getting charged interest at all, right? So that's the way I would do it. And then use the other cash from the line of credit to pay off these debts, okay? All right, so now this is what we're gonna do. So we're just gonna keep going and paying off these debts, all right? And then now in month, what is it? What month are we at? Oh, that's not even month 11. My bad. All right, so month 20, okay. So month 20, we'll have paid off 28K. So 20 months, 28K. All right. And then we have these two auto loans, the student loan and the mortgage. So let's figure out at 20 months, all right, what's the balance of everything? And we have this loan calculator to help us figure that all out, right? So we have this loan calculator. And so it's 15 grand here, 17 grand, 35 grand, 255,000. And we have a cash flow index calculator as well. It auto calculates. And then we see that this is the lowest one. So we're going to try paying this one off first. So this is going to be 15 grand. Okay. So let's go ahead and move this 15 grand into the line of credit. So I'm going to do this plus 15267.37. Okay. And then this is going to be 0. So that's 1957.9 in cash flow. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do this and be 957.9. I'm going to go ahead and copy paste. And then we see that in month 28, okay, the first one gets paid off. So this is 0, and then it's be 28, 28, 28. Okay, now it's 13 grand. And so now let's go ahead and move that 13 grand here into the line of credit. So that's going to be plus 13952.63. And then, all right, this is going to be $460. Okay, so now we have over $2,418.32 of cash flow. And I'm going to go ahead and copy, paste. And then this is going to be minus 2418.32. And then I'm going to copy and paste. And then we see that in 34 months, okay, all paid off. All right. So, all right, so 34 months. So that's 28, 28 plus 25 plus 22. Okay, so that's 75K for both of these auto loans. 75K. All right, and then now student loan and the mortgage. So just do 0, it's gonna be 34, 34. Okay, so now we have 31 grand here. Okay, 31 grand in the student loan. Now, most people, this is what they would do. They would actually just focus on the highest interest rate loan. And you'll notice that we actually did not focus on the highest interest rate loan. We tackled these on. Now, technically, we were doing the debt snowball, but really our guidance was from the cash flow index, because what we're trying to do is get the most bang for a buck in terms of cash flow. And anything above 50 is kind of like 50 to 100 is kind of like you got to be a little bit cautious. But it's okay to pay off debts into a line of credit if the interest rate is similar to that of the loan. right? So if the loan is the same or higher interest rate than the line of credit, yeah, you can definitely do that. But if the interest rate of the loan is lower than the line of credit and the cash flow index is high, that's the scenario you have to be careful, especially with the 30-year mortgage, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do this right here. And I'm going to move the student loan into the line of credit. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this. And then this is going to be plus 31337.04. Oh, wait. So I put an extra 337.04. Okay. So now this is going to be 0. And then $2,822 is our cash flow. And I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. And then this is going to be plus 2882.75. All right, so now this is going to be 45 months till the student loan is paid off. Woohoo! All right, so now 75 plus 40, it's going to be 115K. And then here in the 30-year mortgage, it's 45 months. So I'm just going to put 45 right here, 45. Okay. So that's 243 grand. That's the current balance, right? And you see that we have this high cash flow index. So what does high cash flow index mean? It means that you have a really long term, usually, right? Low payment, big balance, long term. And the way that the interest that you pay goes up is by two things, either the interest rate or the term. So what happens is that people get confused by the term because the longer the term, the lower the payment, right? So people think they're saving money, but you're actually paying more interest, given all the other factors are constant. Okay, so yes, we need to pay the mortgage, but we need to pay it off last. Okay, we need to pay off that mortgage last. We still need to pay it off. You know, don't go to 30 years because you're going to end up paying like a 50 to 100% interest on the loan. That's why they're big money makers for the banks, right? So, but we're going to pay it off now that we have maximum cash flow. We have two ways that we can pay off. One is just extra payments, and the other one is still use a line of credit. Now, why use a line of credit? Well, one reason why we want to use it is because we want to prevent the segregation of income. So why is it that when we first started, we had all this money and then just such little money left over? Is because our income got split all over the place, like we had all these debts, and then we're taught that we put the leftover in our checking and savings. Okay, so that's the way that we're taught to do banking. And then when we're doing this method, one of the core principles is that we don't segregate our income. We're going to put our entire paycheck into that line of credit, take our expenses now. Now, given that this is the final debt, do you have to strictly adhere to that principle? Probably not, right? It's not a big deal because being here is such a huge accomplishment. Most people won't even be here anyways, right? But yeah, so what you do, but we can still use a line of credit, right? But what the most important thing that I'll tell you is that you don't move your entire loan into a line of credit unless the interest rate is of that line of credit is the same or lower, right? That's really it. Okay. So let me just kind of show you this. Imagine that we, from this $243,000 balance, that we just start moving the loan in pieces into the line of credit. Okay, so we'll just make up a number, $6,000, right? So let's do this. And so we move $6,000 into the line of credit at 8%, given our current situation, and it pays off in 5.6 years and 22 grand of interest. Okay, so now I know what people will say. They're all freaking out about this interest rate because that's what society trains us to think about, right? Like we don't think about things in a holistic way. And what I'm saying is this, right? Of course the interest rate matters, but it doesn't really matter, okay? Because let's say I happen to get a 1% line of credit to pay off my debt if I were doing it this way, 1%. That was literally just 2 grand of interest, 1 to 8. Are you shocked about that as I am? Because I've always been taught to fear like 1 to 2 points of interest or 2 percentage points of interest. And you know, like if the interest rate goes up 1 or 2%. It's like the end of the world. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know. Like, I'm like so confused, or I don't know if it's confused, but I was like, why do people freak out about this whole using um, a higher interest rate tool? And by definition, a line of credit will have a higher interest rate because the more access you have to that money, the more the bank charges, right? So that's just it's kind of like with concerts. The more closer you are to the singer, the more they got to charge you. Same thing with the bank. Why is a loan cheaper than a line of credit? Because once you overpay that loan, it's not like you can immediately get it back unless you do a cash out refi, right? Okay. But my point is this: everyone just freaks out about this interest rate, and how there's like a 1%, like, I'm sorry, not 1%, how they're gonna like, oh man, you're using an 8% line of credit against a 3%. Oh, is this right? Yes, I think it's 3%. Let me just quickly check. 3%. Yeah, it's 3%. So basically, 8% line of credit to pay a 3% loan, right? And everyone's freaking out about that. And I'm just thinking it's ridiculous that people would, because you have to think of this holistically. But too many people, when they teach this, only focus on the 30-year mortgage. And hey, if the 30-year mortgage is the only debt that you have, congratulations, you're better off than most people, right? Watch Caleb Hammer's show. Okay, so now we have 5.6 years here, and we paid off, what, 22 grand of interest? You want to see what happens when we do 15%? 24 grand. 2 grand more. It's like you every 7 percentage points. So this is kind of like trend I noticed. If it goes up 7% or so, you pay about 2 grand more in interest. So let me do 25 and see if it goes up 2 grand more. Yeah, 3 grand more. Okay. See how that works? It's like every 7 percentage points you go up, you pay 2 grand more. Amazing. All right. So now that's 5.6 years. 5.6 years. All right. So now this is 0. And this is 45 divided by 12 plus 5.6? I can't even remember. I have a fish brain memory. 5.6. Okay. 5.6 years. And that's 9.35 years debt free. 9.35 years. Okay. So anyways, now we're at the end, and I'm kind of trying to think, like, how can I end this? How can I end this video? Oh, we're at 27 minutes already? Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. Well, how should I end this video? Well, I know. I'll just make a pledge. Okay. I'm going to put my right hand over my heart. I haven't done this at elementary school. By the way, I'm kind of curious. I don't think I ever said the Pledge of Allegiance in like middle school or high school. Why is that? That's kind of weird, right? Like, you think, like, if they make you do something as a kid, and they're, the society's trying to brainwash you. I don't know if that's the right word, to be allegiant, to pledge allegiance to your government. Shouldn't they do that for like your entire life, like they do in some countries? Why stop at elementary school? Yeah, now that I think about it, that's kind of weird. Okay. All right. Anyway, so back to my point. My point is this. If you want to let me know you made it to the end of this video, just type in the comment box below that I'm a debt-free addict. I'm a debt-free addict. I'm addicted to being debt-free. That's what you got to write in the comment box below. This video is 28 minutes, probably going to go into 29-minute mark. And that's how you let me know that you're addicted to paying off debt, right? No stress here, okay? No stress here. All right. Well, that's it for today, folks. Freelance Mentorship here with another video. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.